Today I'm going to be talking about my little Carisma GT24 rally and upgrading the shocks on it, which it desperately needs. Hey everybody, welcome back to Manic RC. Today I'm going to be talking about my little Carisma rally car, which I love rally racing. I love the WRC. So when this came out, it was a no-brainer. I had to get it. I ran it a little bit, but pretty much it sat on the shelf. But recently, I've been running it more. Cleaned out my garage, so have a cool little spot to run it. And it is a very, very, very fun car. Unfortunately, right now, if you're in the US, you cannot order from Carisma direct because they're not shipping to the USA due to tariffs. I'm hoping that changes. I did find a website that has some parts that I wanted to get just as backup parts because, you know, the more I run it, the more chances are things are going to break. So got that stuff in the mail. Anyway, I love the car. It's a lot of fun. It comes with a nickel metal hydride battery, but if you get a little 2-cell LiPo battery, it really perks the thing up and makes it a whole lot of fun. The one thing I can't stand about these cars are the friction shocks. They still run good, but they're bumpy and bouncy, and you know, they're friction shocks. So what do you expect? I did happen to come across some Carisma oil-filled shocks specifically made for the rally series. I got some Carisma shocks for the 24B, but they interfere with full lock and you have to modify, so those are still in the package. I never even tried to put them on, but I did get these little guys. They just came in recently, so I am going to install these guys and see what they're all about and see how it changes the driving experience. So let me get these open. So here's one last look at the little friction shocks. You're going to need some little micro Phillips head screwdrivers to get these things off, especially the bottoms. They're very small, and I think I'm going to be able to replace the shocks without even having to take the wheels off. So that's cool. Let me get the shocks open and let's see what we got in the package. Okay, here's what you get in the package. Of course, you get your little aluminum threaded shocks, springs, and the springs are, let's see if I can, the springs are pretty stiff. And then you get your little gasket, which fits on the upper cap above the piston, and then some teeny tiny little O-rings that go under the shock end cap on the piston. So those are little teeny tiny things. I looked on Carisma's website and they say fill the shocks with 25 weight oil. The instructions say 30 weight, and since the springs are so stiff, I am gonna indeed go to 30 weight, and seems like they'll be easy to remove, so if I need to do 25, I will. One thing I am going to do, which I do with all my shocks, is grease the O-rings with Team Associated green slime, and I'll probably rub down the shock pistons as well. This stuff just makes everything buttery smooth. The shock itself, it's a tiny little guy. Not a whole lot of travel, but you don't need it. Here's the cap. There's no bladder for the cap, so I guess the little bigger O-rings are to keep things from leaking. So I'm not going to bore you guys with the assembly of the shaft. Well, I might do some clips as I put one together just to show you how I put mine together. But let me get this one apart and see how well they go together. So here's the shock all apart. Like I said, I'm gonna grease up the little O-rings with some green slime, stick them in there. And yeah, the bottom cap just screws off. There's not a lot of room to grab the piston, so I used a little piece of paper towel and some pliers so I don't mar those up. But I'm going to get the O-rings in, get them greased, get them in, and then fill it full of oil and see what I come up with, and then I'll show you the results. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and try to attempt to get on video assembling this one shock. I won't do them all, but just do one. So I will get the piston and I'm going to go ahead and coat it down with some green slime. And then put it through the shock body. Push it down so I get that on camera. Push it down in there like so. And then I have to put these two little teeny tiny O-rings in the little chamber to put the cap on. So I'm going to get some more green slime and apply it to the O-ring. See if I can get it on the threaded shaft. which is proving to be a little difficult to get it on there. So I'm going to stick a screwdriver down the shock body to hold the piston out. Let's see if I can slide this little puppy. Man, I thought Endura shocks were small. There we go. There's that one. Seems to be in there. Get a little more green slime. Put it on this O-ring. Get it looped up. Go ahead. And get that little guy on there. There we go. And I'm going to use a toothpick to kind of seat them in there. Like so. And then I will get a little more green slime, and I'm going to put it around the threaded collar of the shock bottom, just to help keep it sealed. And a little more on the shaft. Then wipe my hands off. Get the bottom cover. Let's see how easily this screws on. And I'm just going to finger tighten it. Take the screwdriver out. So yeah, they are in there. Pretty nice. All right, let me get a paper towel, because it's only gonna take a few drops of shock oil, so I'm sure I'll make a mess. So let me get that set up. Okay, let me see if I can fill this thing without making too big of a mess. Should only take a few drops. And that is literally a few drops. Not sure if I'm getting all the air out, but there's not much room to There's not much room for oil. And that seriously should do it. Twist it around. They're not the smoothest. And I think I have a little air bubble. Let me poke that sucker. Oh, there we go. Yeah, I just had an air bubble. There's more room. And I'm making a mess, but I'll clean that up. I really need to be doing this with like a syringe or something, which I don't have. Okay. That is full. Try to make sure there's no air bubbles. And it is not full. Man, I wish I had a small syringe. There's no other way for me to do this. I'm gonna do the rest off camera. Because it is taking forever. Yeah, that's it. Okay, now a little more green slime for the O-ring. Put that on. To keep it from leaking. Then gently put the shock cap on. Give it a little tighten. Let's see what we got. Feels pretty good. These aren't the smoothest in the world. I think once they work loose, they'll be smoother. But you can definitely feel the oil in there. All right, I'm gonna stop recording this because it's gone on too long, but I'm gonna mess with it for a minute and then get back with you with a built shock. and then I'll build the rest off camera. Okay, finally, I actually had to fill it with more oil, but it's all built with the 30 weight oil, and it feels pretty good. At full compression, there's a little tiny bit of stickiness, but I think that's just the metal piston cap on the metal shock body. So I messed with it and don't think there's anything I can do with that. So having said that, they do feel good though. I think the 30 weight's the way to go with these harder springs. So now I'm going to pause and build the rest of these 3 shocks, and then I'll come back and assemble them on the car. Okay, before I go any further with my second shock build, I asked my wife, and she does vitamin B12 shots, so she has this very tiny syringe, and I put the 30 weight oil in there, and it does come out really slow, but I'll be able to fill from the bottom and hope that that works better than that first experience. I'll see how it works, and I may have to take that first shock apart and make sure it is all the way full. So let's see how this works. Okay, all 4 are built, and that little syringe for these little shocks was a godsend. It made it so much easier and so much cleaner. So I'll be keeping that in my shock kit for future builds. So now let me get these assembled on the car. Okay, time to put these new oil-filled shocks on this thing. The little bottom screw for the shock is a very tiny Phillips head, so you have to be careful not to strip that out. I had to really tweak it, so I did that off camera, but I will go ahead and take the top off, which should be easier, and yes, it is. Let's do a little size comparison. That's the stock shock, and that is the new shock, and they are, let's see if I can, almost the same length. The new aluminum shock is just a little bit longer. Interesting. So let me go ahead and get that put on. And it's just a couple screws, so I'm not gonna make this video any longer than it is, but let me get that one on and show you the difference. Okay, wow, the difference is phenomenal. Here's the stock friction shock. Just bouncy, and it's a friction shock. Now the aluminum, first of all, it gives it a little more ride height, just a little more, but I think that's gonna help. And it is just so smooth, so smooth. Let's see if I can get a shot. And I've got the shocks mounted in the same position, and it looks like at full lock, yep, it's not going to hit. Great. Yeah, that's a huge difference. And there is a little more travel. Very cool. Okay, let me get all the rest of them assembled, and then I'll show you what it looks like. So here they are, all installed, and man, what a huge difference. We all know that oil filled is better than friction, but I mean, just experiencing it is, it's just awesome. I left the front shocks in the stock mounting locations, and then the rear, let's see, and the tops were in the innermost location. I moved those to the outside so they're a little bit more straight up and down, and they feel plush and they're very nice. Very nice shocks. So now I'm going to charge the battery up, and I need to charge my phone because it's dying. But I'm going to charge both those and go out and run it. It's raining outside, so all I have is my garage, so I can't take really good video, but at least I can come back and tell you the difference, because I've got some cracks and stuff in my garage floor that definitely affects the car with the friction shocks, so I'll be able to notice the difference, and I'll get back with you and then end this video. Oh my gosh, what a difference these shocks have made. It is such a pleasure to drive. My garage is divided into 4 slabs that have, cracks down them, and it would just bounce on those cracks. Now it just glides. I can't wait to get it out on the street when it's not raining and run it, but these shocks were a worthwhile investment. Can't wait to tune them some more. Might try 25 weight oil instead of 30, but yeah, it's a pleasure to drive. Now I'm thinking about the GT24 2.0. I love that Puma, that Ford Puma rally car. So we shall see. But yeah, the shock project is over, and it's a very worthwhile upgrade to these things. I love them, and I really hope Carisma can start shipping to the US again, and then I can be a little more wild with it and break parts and be able to replace them. Anyway, thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed the video. Please like, please subscribe. More on the way of all kinds of different stuff. I enjoy making these videos when I have time, and I just like being part of the RC community. So thanks, y'all, and you have a great day.